Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1217, written by AAA 1374. A heartwarming story of comfort and release. When I was about 11, we took in a dog for somebody who was very old. He wasn't in great health anymore, but we were supposed to be his final happy home, since we lived out in the middle of nowhere. We had him for about a year, when one night, I just randomly decided to go outside to sit with him and pet him. I sat outside and laid down on him. He was a big dog, for probably over an hour, even though it was a pretty chilly winter night. Before anyone thinks we were just leaving him out in crazy cold temperatures, he refused to go indoors, and we kept a space heater in a sheltered area he would lay down in. I don't know what possessed me to say it, but I gave him a big hug right before I went inside and told him it was okay to go. The next morning, my mom woke me up to tell me that he had passed away in the night. I helped her move his body to somewhere not out in the middle of the open so the owner could come say their final goodbye, and that was it. Honestly, I still don't understand how I knew, but I think I just empathized with his pain and told him that it was okay to let go and not have to keep living for us. Case notes for file 1217, a heartwarming story of comfort and release. Man, I shed a tear while reading this short account. We really don't deserve dogs, do we? They'll hang out in excruciating pain as their duty to their family. I gave Mr. Ben a hug after recording this story. Not to have him pass on, of course, just because he deserves it. He's still a puppy, really. Doesn't matter that he's chaos incarnate sometimes. Love transcends that. He can have his chaos, that's okay. It's also clear that dogs are damned smart. He knew what you meant, that you gave him permission to move on. Duty fulfilled. That's so beautiful. Sad, but beautiful. Case file number 1218, written by Top Independence 81. Mom and niece from another realm. So, 4 or 5 years ago, I stepped out to walk my 2 dogs. My mom, who at the time drove a white BMW, had left for work very early that morning and was about 1 hour away. I lived on the main road in town, so people walked past my house all the time. I walk out to the sidewalk, and as I'm walking, I see who I think are my mom and my niece coming towards me. They say good morning, and my mom pulls out her car keys and gets my niece into the back seat of a white BMW sedan. I wave, and my mom goes, "I'll see you tonight. Love you." I just stared in shock. I called my mom and asked her where she was, and lo and behold, she was at work. I didn't need to call my niece, because at the time, she lived 1,700 miles away in Arkansas. I told my mom about this, and she said it's super creepy, and it's so unsettling. Case notes for file 1218. Mom and niece from another realm. So the distance factor here is the real anomaly. The rest is repeated echoes of souls. Even when still alive, we can conjure up what most would consider to be a ghost. Think about what happens when you pass away and move on to a new universe after death. Sometimes people leave fragments or imprints of their souls behind in their departed universe. So who's to say that this only happens on death? Why couldn't these imprints occur temporarily even when we're still alive? It would go a long way to solve the mystery of the doppelganger sightings, where people are seen in multiple places simultaneously, at great distances where there's no chance they could be in both places. Souls aren't limited by space-time like we are, just souls out for a voyage. It does really make you wonder, how much can souls interact in the physical realm? Because in this case, your mom got in the car and actually drove off. Can a soul even manifest real matter? Now that's a question. That would mean we have far more power over the material world than we can even possibly comprehend. Creepy file number 102, written by Void Zen. Say hi to my poltergeist, Edgar. 15 years old. I was taking a shower at home. The rest of my family was out and it was around 9:30 at night, I believe. Anyway, I hear someone knock on the bathroom door while I'm showering, so I call out, "I'll be out in a sec," thinking it's just my dad or one of my brothers getting home. There was silence for a few moments, and then knocking again, only this time it was pounding, like someone was nagging on it with their fists, trying to break it down barehanded. It was a little creepy, but my dad always loved to prank us, so I didn't think too much of it. I decided to get a towel around me and see what the hell his problem was anyway, but when I opened the door, no one was there. The house was locked up, no open windows, no cars in the driveway. I checked every floor, every room. No one else was home. That was the first occurrence. The weird happenings continued in smaller ways until we moved out of that house, to the point that we imagined it to be some sort of poltergeist and named them Edgar. Case notes for the creepy file number 102. Say hi to my poltergeist, Edgar. I'm not certain this is a poltergeist, but I wouldn't rule it out. As you mentioned, it feels more like an unsettling prank than anyone or anything meaning you true harm. But I would have been absolutely freaked out. Another time having a dog comes in handy, that's for sure. Protect me from Edgar. Creepy file number 103, written by Scubsurf, A Hitchhiker's Journey to Justice. This actually happened to me, so I'm going to be a little vague for the sake of privacy. I have never been one to give much of a crap about things, so I used to give hitchhikers and strangers rides if it looked like they could use it. One day, I'm in my driveway washing my car before I leave for a class at college, and I see a sketchy-looking guy walking down my street. I don't live in the best neighborhood, and there are several bad neighborhoods pretty close by, so being wary isn't unwarranted. He was wearing weird clothes. They looked like cheap, badly cleaned dress clothes. A white button-up shirt, sleeves unbuttoned, black wrinkled slacks, and a scuffed, old battered black briefcase. He had a shaved head and looked scrawny, like he had been starving somewhere. When he got nearby, he asked if I could give him a lift, and I got a weird vibe from him. I asked where he needed to go, and he said somewhere vague and told me he would give me directions and it wasn't far. Asked me if I would stop at the local liquor store. I do, and he gets a beer and some cigarettes and offers me both, but I decline, then take him to his destination. On the way there, he explains that today was his first day out of jail after having served 3 years. I didn't know what to say, so I congratulated him, and he thanked me and swigged his beer. Destination was a well-known hangout for gang members right on the edge of an especially bad neighborhood. I pull in and drop him off, and he thanks me again and leaves. Now, about 5 years later, I see him again. Same guy, impossible to mistake him. He still looked the same, only like he had been fed better, less scrawny. He was on the witness stand at a murder trial, a murder that took place at the very place I dropped him off at about 3 weeks later. Chances are good that he stayed there from the time I dropped him off and never left. He testified against the people who did the murder. They were gang members, part of a gang he was a member of before he went to jail. He had lived in hiding since the trial. Here's the crazy part. The person murdered would have been a member of my family through marriage if he hadn't have been murdered. He was the only person to testify against them. I had goosebumps during the entire trial the day he testified. What a small world. Case notes for the creepy file number 103, A Hitchhiker's Journey to Justice. So how threads can loosely connect like that never ceases to amaze me. Indeed, it's a small world. A potential member of your family, if not for the murder that happened at a place you decided to give a random hitchhiker a ride to, just wow. Also goes to show you that rehabilitation is possible. I think it requires a certain spark to be inside a person. Others don't have it. Bad stuff happens to them, they harden, and never question the actions they take after that. Requires a will and ability to introspect. Props to the disheveled man out of prison for doing the right thing, at least one good act. It really does matter. And now time for the movie of the day. The Abyss. 12th of October, 1989. So this is yet another underwater action movie. Involves, and mystery as well. It involves plenty of tense scenes, starting off with a disaster on a nuclear submarine. What caused its crash? Why did it sink? What's at the bottom of the Great Abyss? I will say, this movie gives me all the right vibes of mystery, while also being casted perfectly. And I think so many of these classic movies are just casted right, and the casting is key. Stars Ed Harris, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. A fantastic duo with chemistry strong enough to grip me and pull me into the movie. And is that not the hallmark of a great movie? to be sufficiently entertained and immersed that you forget anything else exists but the story being told. A lot of people have ADHD these days, and I think classics are a good remedy for that, where you can sit down and you're so gripped by what you're watching that who needs a phone? Just the phone doesn't exist. Just focus on one thing. And that's what I got from this, even on a rewatch. Though the first time I saw this movie was decades ago, when I was maybe 8. My dad let me watch it when maybe I was a bit too young for it, but hey, I have that memory, and it's a great movie. And there's not like a lot of gore or anything, but it's still pretty intense. So be advised, but be excited. Watch it if you haven't. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.